Hello, and thank you for joining Hiding Behind the Lipstick 3.0 Ministry. I am your host, Ophelia Waters, and today I want to share with you a subject that is near and dear: depression, anxiety, and suicide. I've been concerned with the facts of the news and the things that's been reported, and I wanted to take a few minutes out and to talk with you about it. Because in these past few months, two national and international known figures have committed suicide: Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain. They made the headlines: death by apparent suicide. What is happening to people that have become so depressed by the cares and matters of the heart that they allow their feelings of loneliness, sadness, and despair to overtake them? What is happening to people that have allowed anxiety to rule their thought process, and the cares and matters of the world have led them to be fragile enough to lead them down the rabbit hole to suicide? And I want to share some facts and some idioms that may be able to help you. First, I want you to know that nothing is really that bad. The woes in life are placed there to make us better. And I can assure you that things will look a lot better after you give yourself time to process the situation. Time to manage the devastation of it all. Being depressed is not a death sentence. It can be dealt with and it can be managed. Anxiety is not a death sentence. This too can be managed and overcome with treatment. However, suicide is a death sentence that cannot be medicated and it cannot be reasoned out. It is the end of life as you know it. Some may say with me that that's the coward's way out. We all have fight in us, and we need to fight like you're fighting for your life, because, my beloved, you are. Well, you may be asking, what is depression? Depression is feeling of severe despondency or dejection when self-doubt creeps into your mind that swiftly turns to depression. The American Psychiatric Association says that depression is a common and serious medical illness that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and how you act. Please know that this condition also is treatable. Depression causes feelings of sadness and or a loss of interest in activities that you once enjoyed. Depression can and will cause emotional and physical problems. Depression can cause or decrease workability and make it hard to function at work and at home. There are a few symptoms of depression I want to share with you. Feeling sad or being in a depressed mood. I call it being in a funk for too long. A change in appetite, weight loss or weight gain that's unrelated to dieting. Trouble sleeping or sleeping too much. Increase in hand wringing or pacing. Slowed movements in speech. Feeling worthless or guilty. Can't think. Can't concentrate. And can't make decisions. Thoughts of death or suicide are prevalent in your mind. If any of these symptoms last over 2 weeks, the diagnosis can be made as depression. Now, the APA, which is the American Psychiatric Association, reports that depression affects an estimated 1 in 5 adults, and that's 6.7% in any given year. 1 in 6 people are affected. That's 16.6% who will experience depression at some time in their life. And women are more likely than men to experience depression. Depression is different from being sad or even grieving. It's okay to be sad at the death of a loved one, and grieving is a normal process of death. But some risk factors that can cause depression, listen to this, blew me away. Biochemistry. Certain chemicals in the brain may contribute to symptoms of depression. Genetics. Depression can be a family trait. Personality. People with low self-esteem who become easily overwhelmed by stress, and the pessimistic one appears more likely to experience depression. But this is the one that really got me. The environmental factor. Continuous exposure to violence, to neglect, to abuse, or poverty may make some people more vulnerable to depression. Depression is treated with medication, and between 80% and 90% of people with depression eventually respond to treatment. That's good news. If you have any of the symptoms that I just mentioned and they've lasted longer than a couple of weeks, please seek professional help from your doctor. Get a thorough diagnostic evaluation. The evaluation will identify specific symptoms from the risk factors I just mentioned. This will allow them to plan a course of action that will work for you and get you feeling better sooner than later. Don't be ashamed, embarrassed, or too prideful. Get the help you need. Do it for yourself, for your family, and all the people that love you. There are helplines you can call. There's a depression hotline, and that number is 800-826-3632. The crisis hotline for any type of crisis is 800-233-4357. Also, I want to tell you that we need to talk about a little bit about anxiety, which is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease. Anxiety can be described as fear, concern, apprehension, agitation, misgiving, or tension. A psychiatrist characterizes anxiety as a nervous disorder that's characterized by excessive uneasiness and or apprehension, typically with compulsive behavior or panic attacks. The term anxiety disorder refers to specific psychiatric disorders that involve extreme fear or worry. Up under the generalized anxiety disorder, you will find panic attacks, panic disorders, and agoraphobia, which is an extreme or irrational fear of crowded spaces or enclosed public places, social anxiety disorders, separation anxiety, and PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. But worry is a key factor here. It is the key fact in the anxiety disorder. It is the broadest type of anxiety. Excessive worry is having persistent anxious thoughts on most days of the week for 6 months or longer. To be effectively diagnosed, the anxiety must be so bad that it interferes with your daily life, and it is accompanied by noticeable symptoms such as fatigue, which is tiredness, feeling worn out all the time. And then the next problem that shows up is sleep problems. Having some nights when sleep won't come easily is not unusual, but if you have a chronic and ongoing problem and you find yourself lying awake, worried or agitated about money, about your job, about your spouse, about your children, and maybe just not worried about anything in particular, just worried, this could be a sign of anxiety disorder. You also may wake up feeling wired, mind racing, and not able to calm yourself down at all. Those are some symptoms. But irrational fears is another one. It brings out the phobias that manifest as an anxiety disorder. An example may be flying, afraid of animals or crowds, elevators, or small enclosed spaces. These phobias can become crippling, and however, they are not obvious at all times, but they should be checked out. Muscle tension. Now, I suffered from this on my last out of the home job. This is one you can live with and not be aware that you're tensed in the neck, the shoulders, or maybe you clench your jaw, ball your fist, or flex muscles throughout your body. Regular exercise can help muscle tensions keep it under control. For me, quitting that job did the trick. Did you know that chronic indigestion is a symptom of AD? Although anxiety starts in the mind, it can oftentimes manifest itself in the body through physical symptoms such as chronic indigestion and IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. This condition is characterized by stomach aches, cramping, bloating, gas, constipation, and or diarrhea. IBS isn't always related to anxiety, but the two often occur together and can make each other worse. The physical and the social discomfort of chronic indigestion or chronic digestive problems can make a person feel more anxious. Then there's panic. Panic attacks. Panic attacks can be terrifying. A sudden gripping feeling of fear and helplessness that can last for several minutes, accompanied by scary physical symptoms such as breathing issues, shortness of breath, pounding or racing heartbeats, tingling or numbness in the hand, sweating, weakness, dizziness, chest pains, stomach pains, and feeling hot or cold. These are all symptoms of panic attacks. Panic attacks does not mean an anxiety disorder, but people who experience them repeatedly may be diagnosed with panic disorder. People with panic disorders live in fear about when, where, and why their next attack might happen, and they tend to avoid places where attacks have occurred in the past. There are various triggers for panic attacks: chronic stress, acute stress, traumatized by an event, habitual hyperventilation, strenuous physical activities, excessive caffeine intake, oh yeah, illness, and catastrophic events, and an abrupt change of environment. It's a lot of triggers, and a lot of times people don't understand what the triggers are. Therefore, they get all tensed up, and then they get depressed, and it just starts a cycle. And we certainly don't want it to end in suicide. We want to be able to get help to the people that need it. So my desire for you is that if you are struggling, it is that you will seek help. Mental health is just as important as physical health. When we must learn to take care of ourselves as women. When we look at what mental health is, we see that this refers to cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being, all about how we think, we feel, and how we behave. According to the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes her own abilities and can cope with the normal stresses of life and can work productively and fruitfully and is able to contribute to her community. Well, if your headspace is not right, life simply will not cannot work and can become overwhelming to you, and the pressures of the world will break you, and we certainly don't want that to happen. Hopefully something today has been said that will help you along your mental journey, but before you break, please seek help. If you're in a crisis, please call 800-233-4357. There's a depression hotline, and that number is 800-826-3632. Suicide prevention hotline number is 800-784-2433. And there's a suicide depression hotline. That number is 630-482-9696. There's also a parental stress hotline. There's a number, and it is 800-632-8188. All of these numbers will be placed on my website at Hiding Behind the Lipstick, LIPSTIX. I got a new website address, and it is Hiding Behind the Lipstick 3-0 vistaprintdigital.com. These numbers will be placed on that website for your continued if you need it, or you can just listen again to these numbers, or you can reach out to me through email. You can reach me at 901-406-3639, and I'll be able to help you, talk you through it, get you where you need to be to get some help. But I certainly don't want to be there for you, and I want you to know that Hiding Behind the Lipstick love you, and that we care, and that we are here for you. And as always, we want you to be in peace and not in pieces. Thank you for listening. Until next time, be blessed.